And we should be live. All right. Good morning, everyone. And thanks again for joining our monthly query research progress update. So the high-level goal of this team is still the same. So we want to hide the complexities of reading and writing for application developers in decentralized environments using querying technologies. So for that, we have a couple of researchers working on this topic. So we'll now go over each of them, or most of them, because some people are not here today on holidays and so on. So yeah, format's still the same, 3 slides per researcher. First, we go over the high-level goal, then accomplishments of the last month, and then targets for the next month. And we will get started with Brian. Over to you, Brian.
Yes. So my current high-level goal is to optimize decentralized querying using explicit data publication structure. So it means more concretely that data publisher might have artifact or they might organize the information in very specific ways. And we want to be able to leverage that to optimize our queries or even sometimes to make our queries possible. So we can go to the next slide. So the first thing that I've done this month is I tried to find a query planning approach for link traversal query processing using shape indexes, which is a contribution that I did in the past, but I was not really able to find a research-worthy approach. I had an idea, but this idea was more of an engineering approach, and I don't think it would be good enough to be published. So I decided instead to investigate federated queries using shapes. So what I did is that I inspired myself from the fed-up approach, and the fed-up approach is basically using some summaries, and with those summaries is able to prune a lot of join during the query execution. So I began to start an implementation of the fed-up algorithm and also of my version using shapes. I realized that shapes cannot really be converted into knowledge graph due to union statement and also due to some constraint. So I've tried to adapt the approach with that into consideration. I've also investigated an algorithm that is called Lucai, but it's really hard to reproduce because the engine is not open source and the description of the algorithm is a bit fuzzy in some places. And I've also investigated how to do some join ordering in a federated context using shapes, and also do a bit of query rewriting to optimize some queries. I've also worked on finalizing my work on online schema alignment with link traversal query processing. So now the only thing that is left is that I have some problem with streams due to the fact that I need to consider the reachability criteria. And yes, and I've also done a benchmark for this work, and the benchmark is mostly done. So there is just the implementation that has this small bug. Can go to the next slide.
And you also submitted your journal, or did you mention that last month already?
I was not there last month. So yes, I submitted a journal about my shape index work for link traversal query processing in the Semantic Web journal. And this month, I'm planning to finalize my online schema alignment implementation and to write a paper about it, so probably a demo paper. And I'm planning to start working on a paper about query containment and query caching in the context of federated queries. And that's it for me.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Any questions for Brian?
Yeah. So with the schemas, couldn't you also attach like cardinalities to the schemas to do joint planning?
Yes, but I'm planning basically to, with the schemas, I can already know the relative cardinalities between properties. And if I do some simple queries, like just counting the number of triples and stuff like that, I can already have some cardinality estimate. And also, if you know the relationship that you have between shape, for instance, if you have a shape that represents a school and a shape that represents a student, then you can know the relationship of the cardinality between them. So that's what I'm planning to do right now. I think just Because if we had directly the cardinality, we need it to be up to date. And stuff like void description sort of already do that. It's already hard to keep that up to date. So I'm more leaning towards this approach. And also with shape, sometimes you can have like a cardinality that says that it can be anything, but if you count the number of quads and you know the shape, you can maybe infer some lower and upper bounds.
Right, makes sense.
Sorry.
So the Lucille approach, if I understand correctly, you first thought that you were first considering investigating that approach, but since the paper is not really clear on what it does exactly, you were not going to investigate it any further.
Yes, but if I have time, but I don't think I have time, I'm planning to try to implement part of that paper to join it with the current work that I have. But I don't think I'll have the time to do sort of a reproducibility analysis of this paper. And I've contacted the authors by multiple ways, and they never answered. So, and I even tracked them down to their current, not their current address, but their current place where they work on, and no one contacted me back. So I don't think that, yeah, I've been meaning to do it.
Maybe you should go there and knock on their door.
I guess
Right.
it should do last step.
Unless there are any other questions for Brian, let us move forward and we can go to Maarten.
Okay, my high-level goal is to optimize decentralized querying by using aggregators and incremental processing. So aggregators are like these blocks in the ecosystem that will do the query processing beforehand, and then you can get the results of those queries like a cache. It's essentially you get the results of those queries. And to make sure that the query results stay up to date, I use incremental processing to keep them up to date. What I've worked on in the past bit over a month is actually two papers. The first one is they are very linked together. The first one is a journal on exactly my high-level goal. It's exactly on the query aggregator. And the goal here is to, I have two use cases. One is Elevate and the other one is a watch party. Elevate is like a workout app, I guess, where you upload activities like sporting activities and you get an overview of what you did and information about those activities. And the plan is to use these two use cases and extract all the queries, the Spark queries that are being done in those applications, extract those queries, and then see how long it takes you to do them without an aggregator and how long it takes to do with an aggregator. For this, I built a proof of concept aggregator, which is getting there is almost complete. And then this is like in a decentralized environment with authorization, authentication. I've built the setup, the policy setup, and the evaluation setup, where actually no policies are evaluated. So all the HTTP requests are being done to check if you are who you say you are and to check if you have access to a certain resource, but no policies are evaluated. It just always says you have access. It's like a worst case scenario for the aggregator where the policies are instant and don't need any evaluation. So that's the curator journal. That's where I'm at the moment. And then for the second paper is for the watch party, where I extract the queries from for the journal. And there I'm just explaining how the aggregator will work with the watch party and explaining more about the challenges within the watch party demo and actually how it works. And I've been working on a streaming spec to put policies on top of streams. So you don't just get an access token to access the stream, but you can get an access token to access the stream and then have further policies on top of that stream. So once the policies change, the stream would be stopped, for example. That's also in that paper then. And then my next targets for the query journal is add the elevate, so the sporting application, to the evaluation, because right now I have all the queries, but I just need to put them in the evaluation and run the evaluation. And then, of course, write everything out. And then same thing for solid watch party, is just write everything out. And also, I have some work still on the watch party demo, so it actually works and I can submit the demo itself. And yeah, that's it for me.
All right, sounds very good. Any questions for Maarten?
Yeah, how is it the worst case if the policy evaluates immediately? Because wouldn't it take longer if the policy takes time to evaluate?
Yes, but it takes more time when you do the query live. So without the aggregator, we do a lot of policy checks because you have a lot of resources to check. So it would take longer for the aggregator. You just have to authenticate with the aggregator and you get your results. So it's worst case for the aggregator.
In comparison to no aggregator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good question, thank you.
So is this a semantic web journal that you're targeting?
I actually can't remember, but I think it is.
Okay.
And the demo is for WWW conference, I think.
Ah, okay. It's in Dubai, I think, next year.
Indeed. And the deadline is 15th of November, I think, so in a little bit less than a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Brian.
You said that the aggregator was like a cache, and I'm wondering what is the difference between that and a view, or is it kind of the same thing?
It's the same. The thing is, the aggregator is just the I guess the specification of how you would make a cache. So just a specification of what endpoint you go to, what is the language you speak with that endpoint to ask for certain queries that needs evaluation, how you get the queries, how do you authenticate these queries, and so on and so forth, how you get like streaming results out of them. All this is like the aggregator, but like in your case, the cache is like the same thing, but just without the specification. So in your case, you could just use the specification and to build your cache.
Okay, I see. But I thought that there was a continuous queries aspect.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's also it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's in there. Yeah, indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let us move to Ruben.
All right, my IDLab goal is still the same. I want to use client-side approaches to optimize link traversal-based query processing. So using some form of sort of past knowledge to do future optimization. What I did this month is the following. I tested my stems approach in link traversal on solid bench, and I hope that everything would be fixed when I fix some bugs that I encountered, but it's not yet completely done. While some queries are a lot faster, there's also some weird artifacts in terms of number of results. So I probably need to fix something there. But I am currently focusing on a different aspect, which is the second point. I am working on the query sequence benchmark, and it's completely configured, and there is a test experiment that's been generated. I just have one little thing to do, but it should be almost ready to start running. And I will test the sort of cache-based cardinality estimation on this benchmark. I had to sort of rewrite some parts because I lost some work that I didn't upload to GitHub apparently when I worked on it last months ago. But now it actually works again. It re-extracts the traversal metadata, so it will work also with different queries. And it seems to be pretty fast. There's one possible issue I see with benchmarking that's more like a weakness of the approach than actually a bug, which is when the cache is too little, which sort of is required because you don't want to use a ton of memory. Large queries with tens of thousands of links might actually sort of overflow the whole cache and completely flush it. But we'll see in the experiments. I'll also run some high memory experiments, see that it alleviates it. So next month, I probably won't be doing that much, but it's also considered for next month because I'll be at ISWC. I'm going to run this benchmark and get this sort of paper on it done. And that is the main target, basically. I want to sort of try to reach ESWC for a resource paper with some experiments, but we'll see how well the benchmarking goes and how many bugs I've written into it. That is sort of the big decider.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned here on the previous slide that capacity could be a problem if you do a lot of traversal. So I guess there we could think of introducing some more intelligent caching approach where we only cache the things that are actually the most useful, if you know what I mean. That we don't necessarily cache everything, like all of the documents, but only the documents that are most useful, so that we attach some kind of score, and then only include the documents that have a score that is high enough. And then that way we could solve this capacity problem a bit, hopefully.
Definitely. That could be a good way, or different than these recently used might also be worthwhile. Maybe least frequently used. Then if there's things that co-occur, then will occur often, they'll stay in the cache. Yeah, there's definitely some that can be done there.
No, or we could simply also flush the cache to disk if it doesn't fit into memory anymore.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that could be done there. But yeah, I guess you're targeting ESWC, right? For this
That would
one?
be, yeah, try to.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe that new caching strategy would be future work.
Yeah, because we plan on extending it to a journal. So there more work could be done with different caching strategies and seeing what is what, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yes. With the STEM approach, you said that there was, you still have some bug, but there was some queries where you were able to get better performance. And do you know already what are the type of queries that you get better performance?
Not really. I don't know if I can say much about it yet, because I saw some queries that seemed to be slower, but then they also produced about 100 times more results.
Okay.
So I'm not sure where that came from, and I still need to figure that out.
Okay.
But it seems to be most queries were a little faster.
Okay. What do you mean by
the queries that are faster? They produce correct results, right?
Yes.
So it's only the queries that are slower that produce too many results. So there's probably something going wrong in the join.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the question is if it's sort of an accident that there's correct results and that work has been skipped, or other reasons.
Yeah.
And when you say a little faster, what is it?
Depends on the query. Some of them are very fast, and then it's only what can be 30 or 20%, but other ones are like half of the execution time.
Okay, so it can really be profitable.
If I remember correctly, but it's I need to look at the draft I made.
Okay.
Is there a way to know beforehand which querying strategy you would use? Like, will you be able, out of the experiments, will you be able to like extract like, oh, if you have like this type of query, like, then just do normal query processing. If you have this one, like go for the STEM or the Eddie's approach.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's very, very preliminary to seeing if it works, and then I'll have to sort of investigate more about it.
Think it will be possible to know beforehand, or is it just?
I don't know. I don't know.
It seems to me that it will really be dependent on the data that you're getting, like of the network you're traversing.
Sure. But
So that's really sure.
The nice part about it is it's adaptable, I guess. So we'll also always sort of get to a decent plan. So I would say the suboptimality is capped a little bit, which is nice for link traversal, I guess. But I don't know how much the overhead will also influence stuff, because it still has some overhead.
Ruben, you said you were planning to submit, if I understand well, as a resource paper, but I'm hearing you have a method, an evaluation, a comparison baselines. So why are you targeting a resource paper? Why not a research paper?
Well, I think the main contribution will be the benchmark I made, because it's new benchmark that's for caching benchmarking, basically, in linked traversal.
Okay, so that's the benchmark itself you consider as a resource, not the actual evaluation of the. Okay, got it.
So it's just a very simple algorithm with simple caching that I sort of plan on showing some performance and some attributes of the benchmark, basically.
Okay, so you presented the other way around. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you explain a bit more what you cache?
Oh yeah, just the document itself. Basically, you dereference it, you get a RDF store, and you put that in the cache.
Okay,
and a policy, so an HTTP sort of specification caching policy.
Okay. So it's like a mapping between the RAI and the store with the policy.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
And then I use count queries over the cache for a cardinality estimation to make a join plan.
Okay. So first you have a planning phase just on the cache, and sort of suppose that the network will be kind of similar to what you have cached, and then you perform the traversal.
Yeah, so it's very naive. Even if you have different documents, it still uses the cache, and we'll see if that works well.
Okay, so you don't know which one is query relevant in the cache. Okay. But it could be done.
You could do it, yeah.
Like in your journal. Okay.
Definitely.
I see. Thank you.
I just want to build on Maarten's last question. So basically predicting which querying approach is the best. Like, I think it's going to be interesting to combine your caching approach with your stems approach, so that, like, I would suspect that in practice, that if you start from an empty cold cache, that the stems approach as a default will probably make the most sense. It's going to be better than the zero knowledge approach in any case, I think, in all cases, or most cases. But then if you have a warm cache, then it's probably going to be interesting to check, okay, do you do traditional query planning using the cardinality estimates you get from the cache, or do you use the stems approach?
Yeah, that could be interesting. And also maybe being able to switch mid-query execution between bind, join, and adaptive. Maybe that is a possibility.
Yeah.
If the cache says, oh, it's the one bind stream is very small, you could maybe do the bind join, and then you see, oh, that's not true. You might be able to switch. But I haven't really investigated how much effort that would be to transition states between that. But it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, but also tricky.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. Any last questions for Ruben? If not, then we go to myself, I think. Yes. So yeah, my goal is still to support the PhD students in their research so that we can achieve efficient read-write abstractions over decentralized environments. So what I did this last month is I worked a bit on some preparations for the new major version of Communica. So mainly I did some refactoring of the link queue so that we can more easily extend it and build upon it in future research, because the old code was very what's the word? Very tightly integrated in the Communica code base, so extendability was not great. But now everything is nicely abstracted, and also the code is now properly moved into the linked traversal repository. So everything related to linked traversal is now in the feature in the dedicated feature repository for linked traversal. So the nice thing about that is that we can more quickly evolve the code base there without being afraid of making breaking changes in base Communica. Besides that, I've also been doing some more work in the RDF and Sparkle working group. related to that, I also worked on preparing slides for the upcoming tutorial at ISWC, where we're going to talk a bit about the new features and functionalities of RDF and Sparkle 1.2. Slides are mostly done now. So yeah, if any changes will still be needed, it will be about some in progress things that are not set in stone yet. Like for example, like we're still working on how we want to solve the Sparkle exists problem. Like we have a roadmap now, but yeah, it's still being worked on. So the slides related to that will probably still change a little bit. So yeah, that's everything I did last month. My next targets are related to the RDF and Sparkle working group. Yeah, several pull requests I still want to do, such as, for example, specifying comparison functions on triple terms. I have a first version of that pull request, but some more changes are needed. And then, yeah, the new version announcement mechanics for the RDF and Sparkle specs are done already, but we still need some specification tests. So I plan to work on that. But for that, I'm waiting for the integration of Yitz's new parser into Communica, but we're almost there. And if all goes well, we should be able to merge today. Well, it won't be merged in the master branch, but in the dedicated Sparkle 1.2 branch, which will then later be merged into master once we release version 5. So that's that. Yeah, and then I also will continue a bit on preparing the tutorial. And then for Communica version 5.0, I will finish up the link refactoring. I don't expect much more work to be needed on that. Then I also want to change a bit how we want to do the service keyword handling, but I talked about that last time, but I didn't get to it yet, hopefully next month. And then I also want to do a bunch of smaller changes that have been waiting in my to-do list for the next breaking change. And that's all for me. Any
Ruben,
questions?
are
Yes.
you involved in some cost action right now, such as Goblin or any?
Yeah, I'm involved in the Goblin cost action. Yes.
Okay, good. I also wanted to mention on my side, if that's of any interest, we opened 2 positions in the group. So I'm going to that are somehow related to your topics. I'm posting them in case anyone knows anyone who wants to apply. So that these are 2 positions. On which we are interviewing right now. We are starting a project which is called SafeKG, where we have this natural language-based secure federated query building opening, the other opening, and it's with the team of Pascal Molly and Halas Kaf, so the FedUp team, and so we will be working with them on that topic. And the other one is in the context of the metabolomic project between France and Switzerland, and it's about building queries for a chemist with distributed chemistry and biochemistry knowledge graphs.
Okay, very interesting. So that's for PhD students, right?
No, there's another one which is a PhD opening, but it's on mining data from latent spaces. So it's an uncertainty, and representing uncertainty. These 2 ones, they are close. They are research engineer / postdoc position.
Oh, okay. All right.
I have a question, Ruben.
Yes.
You said that you want to change the handling of the service clauses. Can you elaborate a bit? Maybe because I was not there last time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll open the slide again. But yeah, there's not much there. Yeah, so essentially, you know, in Communica, we so the way we do federated querying and source selection and so on is by essentially annotating query operations with sources. So essentially every kind of query operation, being it a triple pattern, a BGP, projection, any of those operations can be annotated with a source. And that those annotations are set during the query planning phase. Now, the way we handle service keywords is we have a dedicated operator for that, which is also how the Sparkle spec defines it. And also for that dedicated operator, we have a dedicated actor that evaluates that operator. But that part of the code is different than the part of the code that handles the source annotations on query operations. And we have a bunch of optimizations related to source annotations on operations. And that means that, yeah, since those two things are implemented in a different way, that means that the optimizations for the source annotations cannot be used for optimizing the case of explicit service keywords, even though they are quite similar to each other. So my plan is to essentially make add an optimized actor somewhere very early in the pipeline that essentially rewrites service operations into source annotations on that operation. And then we can make use of all of the optimizations again for services.
Okay, I see.
Ruben,
Yes.
where is the new version keyword defined? Which spec?
All of them actually. So
because I'm going through the Sparkle 1.2 document and I can't find the definition of the keyword.
So in the RDF concepts spec, there is a part here talking about version announcement. So this is essentially a generic explanation of how version announcement is now done in the RDF and Sparkle specs. But then each spec has its own section on how it's actually done within the syntax. So for example, for Sparkle, we have a section also called version announcement, I think. Yes. So here it explains that we have this version keyword.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay. Any other final questions or comments? No. Okay. Very good. Then that brings us to the end of today's progress update. It was a very quick one since we were with a smaller group. So next time we meet is on November 25th at 9:30. So it's a bit later now, but actually not that much later because we have ISWC in 2 weeks. So yeah. All right. Thanks all for joining and see you next month. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.